In Mexico's cartel world, power often passes from one generation to the next. Sons grow up watching their fathers build influence, command loyalty, and control territories that stretch across entire regions. For some, that legacy becomes impossible to escape. For others, it becomes something to chase. In the late 2000s, one of those sons began to attract attention inside the violent landscape of Mexico's organized crime networks. His name was Cesar Raul Meza Torres, but most people knew him by a different name, El Mini 6. Born on October 31st, 1991, in Culiacan, Sinaloa, Meza Torres entered a world already deeply connected to organized crime. Culiacan had long been considered one of the central strongholds of the Sinaloa cartel. For decades, the cartel had built an international trafficking network that stretched far beyond Mexico's borders. Growing up in this environment meant that organized crime was impossible to ignore. For many young people in the region, cartel figures were not distant names in the news. They were neighbors, relatives, or powerful figures within their communities. For Meza Torres, the connection was even more direct. His father, Raul Meza Ontiveros, known as LM6, was reportedly a leader within the Sinaloa cartel. In the world of organized crime, family connections often shape a person's future. For El Mini 6, that path appeared to be set from an early age. By the time he was 15 years old, authorities believe he had already begun participating in cartel activities. Like his father, he was stepping into the violent world of organized crime. During the late 2000s, social media began changing how young cartel members presented themselves. Platforms like Facebook and Metroflog became places where young men displayed their lifestyle. El Mini 6 was one of them. Photos circulated online showing him posing with weapons, armored vehicles, and other symbols of cartel power. Among his friends, these images built a reputation. A young man following in the footsteps of his father, a rising figure inside the cartel world. But the same visibility that made him famous also attracted the attention of police. In 2007, when Meza Torres was only 15 years old, authorities stopped an armored vehicle in Culiacan. Inside were Meza Torres and two other teenagers. The vehicle had no license plates. Police detained them after discovering they had no documentation proving ownership of the vehicle. It was one of the first times his name appeared in official police reports. Over the next 2 years, more incidents followed. In 2009, police responded to reports of illegal street racing in Culiacan. When officers attempted to stop the vehicles, gunmen opened fire. A shootout followed. Investigators later discovered that one of the abandoned vehicles belonged to El Mini 6. Inside, they found ammunition of several different calibers. The evidence strengthened suspicions that he was deeply involved in cartel activities. But the most violent confrontation came in the early hours of April 25, 2010. Police officers in Zapopan, Jalisco, noticed a suspicious vehicle during a patrol. Inside were Cesar Raul Meza Torres and another man. When officers attempted to stop them, the situation escalated quickly. Gunfire erupted. During the exchange, one police officer was killed. Another officer returned fire. El Mini 6 was mortally wounded. Emergency responders transported Meza Torres to a nearby hospital, but the injuries were too severe. He was pronounced dead shortly before dawn. He was 18 years old. Despite his short life, the story of El Mini 6 spread across Mexico. Songs were written about him. Images of his life continued circulating online, a reminder of how quickly power and violence can shape a life, and how quickly it can end.